really excited to be here today and have a conversation. Again, John from Pratt Miller, and my name is Brian McGarvey. John, to kick us off, can you share a little bit of background about Pratt Miller Engineering and the types of products that you all build?
Sure. So Pratt Miller was started by Gary Pratt and Jim Miller in 1989. It was 100% motorsports focused. Jim was the driver and Gary was the brains behind the car. So from there, they grew the motorsports side of the business. About a little over 20 years ago, they made a partnership with GM to do Corvette racing. So we became the factory racing team essentially for GM. Even though our name wasn't on the car, we did everything but supply the drivers. So we designed the car, built the car, supported the car at the track. Did all the engineering and design. And then around the 2008 period, obviously, as I'm sure some of you encountered, during that time there was a little bit of volatility and motorsports wasn't as big of a deal, and so we kind of felt some pains there. We realized we had some pretty high-level engineering talent, so we started branching out into other areas. We came into some defense work, being a small business at the time. We had a grant and moved into the defense space. So now we do quite a few different defense products, and we also have a portion of our business in mobility, which does integrations, electrifications, things like that. So it's quite an array of products. It's all very low volume, high mix, and it goes from prototype level to kind of a low volume production.
Yeah, I mean, earlier this year I was able to come visit you guys, and it was really cool to see the operations. And I think you might have just hinted at it in terms of what potentially makes it unique or difficult to manage those operations. But can you maybe explain to the audience, what those challenges are? Sure.
So motorsports, as some of you may know, may be following it, but motorsports is very fast-paced. It's kind of, we got to fix it now. We got to have a solution now. So it's very hard to track those changes. So Tulip has helped us with that. It's not as regulated as something like the defense space where, we make a design, we submit it to the customer, and that's pretty much it. We can't really make any changes without like a whole new phase of contract work and things like that. And then the mobility side, we deal with a lot of startups, right? So as of late, it's been a lot of electrification, but like I said, we also do some integrations where customer wants two pieces of equipment integrated. We typically do vehicle-based things, but we have branched out in other areas as well. But the mobility space is very, very unregulated because, like I said, it's usually startup companies, entrepreneurs, and they don't even really know what they're asking for. So we try to guide them, but the contracts and things are much more lax on that side of the business. So being able to kind of cover all of those has been a big challenge.
Yeah, and last one for kind of the intro and the background here. What would you say that sets Pratt Miller apart from others in the industry? Motorsports, defense, beyond. Kind of what's the secret sauce and kind of what sets you apart?
I think it's our ability to adapt. Obviously, like I mentioned, we have all these different areas of the business, and we have a lot of highly skilled, both engineers, assembly technicians, machinists. So we have a lot of highly skilled employees, and just being able to adapt to all the different areas of the business has allowed us to be pretty successful. And we can carry things from motorsports where we have to act quickly, make good decisions, move that into a defense workspace where we can turn around a contract in a very short amount of time and actually deliver the thing on time. Whereas a lot of our competitors, even though that's their only task, right? Their defense company, they don't turn it around as quickly because they're bogged down with systems and things that don't allow them to be as flexible and adaptable.
Yeah, thanks. I'm really excited for you to talk about the solutions that you've all built using Tulip. And I think one of the first areas we want to talk about is the guided workflows and data capture that you all are doing. Maybe you can explain how you keep the instructions, the part lists, and the processes current as designs evolve, especially given the environment you guys operate in.
Sure. So yeah, we started with Tulip about 7 or 8 years ago. So we've been with Tulip for a bit now. Primarily, we started with them for work instructions. So we were using a different software previously. It was very limiting. We found Tulip at, I believe, IMTS, and we bought a factory kit and started developing apps. The buy-in took a while because obviously we come from motorsports. Things happen now and they don't want to be bogged down with any kind of process, whether it helps them or not. But after about a year of getting in their face and kind of showing them how we can improve their life, they finally started asking for it, like, hey, where's my instructions, where's my Tulip, right? Even though we're only building a few of these things, the next time we build them, it's like, oh, I forgot, or, Johnny was doing it last time and, he's already busy on something else and now I need to work on it over here. So the Tulip instructions have been very helpful for us. We do a lot of building on the floor with the operators, which has helped with the buy-in. So we make changes based on their feedback, which we can do live on the floor with them. And then to keep everything up to date, which is a challenge, we use different systems depending on which branch of the business we're in. For instance, motorsports uses Jira tickets. So as we come across issues and things whether it's design or customer support, things like that, if it's going to impact manufacturing or assembly, we'll get a ticket. My team will receive a ticket and then we can respond to that Jira ticket. On the defense side, we use our PLM, which is wind chill. So again, we'll get a task to update instructions, so that will all go through Tulip. Some of these things have integrations back, so once we make the change in Tulip, we can say, hey, we completed this task. Some of it, we have to go into Jira or Windchill, because we're still working up those systems. But yeah, it's incorporated in everything we do now as far as work instructions.
Yeah, and I remember it was evident on the shop floor. I mean, you were talking about the folks in motorsports, all using it, and it was really cool to see, especially with all the intricacies of building one of those. Something else that stood out to me though was the way that you guys have embedded quality checks in a lot of the work instructions that you do. Maybe you can explain how you ensure tasks are done right the first time, and then also maybe comment on some of the connected devices that you all have deployed with Tulip or have integrated with Tulip.
Sure. So a lot of the tasks that we have, we're capturing some sort of data, whether it's a serial number, some sort of quality, especially in racing. We have a lot of weight restrictions, dimensional restrictions, and that's all based on the series that we're in. Obviously, any kind of weight you can redistribute or dimensions you can change can give you an advantage in racing. So it's highly regulated. We have, I think, 30 parts that have to be weighed 100%. So every part that we make that serves that same purpose has to get weighed and recorded. That way, if it gets to the track and it's heavier or lighter, we have proof that this is how it went out the door. When it was our own products, it wasn't as critical, but now that we're selling to customers, it becomes a bigger issue. So we use weight scales. We have torque tools to make sure that we've completed tasks correctly. We have inline images, so as we're completing our builds, we have certain tasks where you have to take an image to prove that we put the torque stripe, we completed this task, we routed the wire properly, whatever the case may be. Yeah, those are the primary ones. We do a lot of barcodes and traceability, which I think we'll get to soon.
It's a great segue.
Yeah.
Great segue. I mean, yeah, because again, when I was there, blown away on everything, seemed like it had a QR code on it.
Yep.
So you're really end-to-end traceability. So it's what, thousands of parts?
Yeah, I think our BOM is 3,500 for the race car.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, maybe you can just explain what people are seeing on here with the QR codes. Yeah, I think that'd be like a good grounding point.
Sure. Yeah. So at Pratt Miller, we do a lot of our manufacturing in-house. So we have CNC machines, water jets, laser cutters. We have tons of fabricators, so we don't do any robotic welding. Everything's done by hand. And then we also do composites. So the entire race car is fabricated in-house. So we implemented a system there because I'm sure some of you have work order routers that travel with parts. But in our case, we do hand layup on our composite parts. And some of the work orders are, we need 10 fenders, right? But we can only make one at a time because we have one mold. So having that traveler actually travel with the part is difficult because as soon as that first part gets laid up and it's going to the grinder trim room, the next part's getting laid up. So where does that router actually live? So we came up with this digital tracker here, and every part gets a QR code. So you can kind of see in the picture there. The square QR code is for the raw part, so the initial part. And then once that part gets bonded into its assembly, then it gets an additional label that's the assembly number and has a different QR code. And then once it goes through the QC process, which we kind of saw on the previous slide, it gets a different label that has QC pass. So we can track all of those through the system. Each operator that touched it in every process, whether it's kitting or layup or trimming or bonding, every operator that touched that part, we have full traceability, both dates, times, and operator.
I mean, you just described a lot of really cool and really impactful things. But what would you say is like the most impactful change out of what you see here with the traceability and QR codes?
The most impactful, I mean, for one, this allows us to be super flexible with our system. Like I said, the operators used to have a stack of work orders this tall, trying to find which one they're actually working on today. And then, they find 3 of them that are the same part, but 2 of them are expired and no longer open. So doing it this way allows us, one, as the management team to see, okay, how many parts do we have in bonding and how long have they been there? Why is this part sitting around in there? Whereas before it was just parts on a shelf. We don't even know what state or status they're in. And now we can be a lot more flexible, and it's a lot more visual for our management team to see, where we're at and how we're doing.
So visibility in the shop floor, as well as the end, your finished good, like for whatever race car's out in the field, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
And out of curiosity, how long does it take to build one of these race cars?
So we committed to building 2 race cars every 8 weeks. So most of our customers buy the cars in pairs. They either race one and have one as a spare, or they'll race a 2-car team and just buy a bunch of spares. But yeah, we do 2 cars about every 8 weeks. So it ends up being about 20 cars a year.
Yeah, it's a cool operation to see.
Yeah.
But as you mentioned, it's a lot of parts that go into that. And as you mentioned, keeping track of those parts is pretty important. So how do you handle those complex inventory needs, not only on the racing side, but also with the government side, government-owned parts?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, we were very prototype heavy. Even the largest volume of parts we do or vehicles we assemble is somewhere in the 20s to 50s, so we're talking very low volumes. And because of that, a lot of our programs don't end up in our ERP system as inventory items, just because the lift is so large and the parts can change day to day. So it's very challenging to keep an ERP system updated. So what we've chosen to do is utilize Tulip as our inventory system for a lot of our programs. This allows us to not only track the parts themselves, but actually track them by job code, because a lot of times, especially in the defense space, we'll buy the same part but under 4 different job codes because it serves as production, spares, service items, different items within that same project, but they're all purchased under different job codes. So we need to know exactly which ones belong to which job code, so we don't steal inventory from each other and end up losing money.
Yeah, just another visual of the ERP that you've made in Tulip.
Yeah, so this traceability here, for every part that we have in our inventory, we have a traceability of who's touched it, when it arrived, when it left, if it came back, because we do support a lot of test events out in the field, especially with our defense programs. So we'll have our prototype, it'll go out in the field, but we don't want it to break down and have no parts, right? So we'll take a trailer full of parts to make sure that the test goes off successfully, but that means we've stolen our inventory. So when it comes back, we need to know, did we actually use it, or did it get checked back in properly? And with this, we can do a quick audit of what was checked out for this particular event. We can do an audit of what came back and then reconcile that when we get back. And that's been huge. Doing that in the ERP system is very cumbersome. And with the Tulip interface here, any operator can do it. So we typically send engineers, assembly technicians out on these events because they have the most knowledge of actually working on the vehicles. So when they come back, they can actually reconcile all these inventory tasks on their own instead of having to send it back to the purchasing or inventory teams.
I mean, as you mentioned, historically a lot of what you've done is like low volume, a lot of prototype builds, and have moved into production builds. But how have you managed those rapid engineering changes? As you go through the prototype and design phases all the way through like production builds, like what does that even look like?
It's definitely a challenge. So as far as work instructions go, we work very closely with the engineers. Again, we use the systems like Jira and Windchill, things like that, to do the communications, but then we work on the floor with the operators, getting those changes on the fly. So the engineers will make a change to, say, a control arm or a wheel hub, and that what the engineer thinks is going to happen doesn't actually happen on the floor. So we're out there on the floor with the assembly technicians, going through a brand new process and redocumenting that entire thing. Typically, we'll archive the old stuff because inevitably that always comes back at some point. The customer has it and they want it the old way because they have 5 sets of spares already. So it always comes back. So we always keep everything.
Yeah, and honestly, how does this change your ability to deliver to customers? With being able to iterate with the prototypes, I don't know, how's customer delivery even look today?
With the flexibility we have with Tulip allowing us to produce quality parts, it works out pretty well. Obviously we have supply chain issues like everybody else. That's why we try to do most of our stuff in-house. Again, we have machines and water jets, things like that. But yeah, being so flexible just allows us to communicate better with the customer and deliver higher quality parts.
I feel like there's probably, there's overlap in defense and motorsports, maybe the wheels and the chassis and stuff, but probably not a ton of companies that do both. There's probably challenges in managing both, especially Pratt Miller's not a huge company, right? How many?
No, so we're just under 500 total employees, but we have 4 campuses in Michigan and 1 in North Carolina. So the one in North Carolina is not manufacturing at all. They do software. So we have a driver in the loop simulator down in North Carolina that a lot of the NASCAR teams and IndyCar teams use on a regular basis, and they run that. They do support some of our software needs up in Michigan. We do a lot of autonomy and things like that, but yeah, manufacturing is all done in Michigan, and yeah, we have 4 separate campuses there, again, doing all the different branches that we work in. So
yes, a company 500 strong, how do you balance defense and motorsport demands? What are the different approaches to manufacturing for meeting both of those demands?
Yeah, it's very different, and I manage the manufacturing engineering team, which takes on a lot of the Tulip work, and we work on both sides of the company, or all 3 really. Defense and motorsports are the biggest, and we work on both sides. So we've been able to take learning that we found in defense, where we have to track some serial numbers and batch records, things like that, where it's more regulated, bring that over to the motorsports side. But on the motorsports side, we're capturing like 400 plus serial numbers on the vehicles because they want to track them for mileage, they want to track them for life, durability, different things like that. So we have an increased amount of data capture on that side, and then we're able to bring it back over to the defense side and kind of share our learnings there, especially being the one small team. It's easy for us to kind of keep the apps building up and converging kind of into a singular format, I guess.
Yeah. So you mentioned that, it sounds like you were able to take lessons learned from both sides of the business
absolutely.
And, transfer them over. Is there anything else that you can think of, though, that, helps Pratt Miller maintain a competitive edge against maybe larger companies that have, more resources, or a smaller company that is, very focused on motorsports or defense?
Yeah, I think having a lot of the resources in-house and having the highly skilled workforce, we don't really employ many contract labor employees, so that helps quite a bit. And again, having everything in-house, all the machining capabilities, allows us to control a lot of the quality in the process, and utilizing Tulip to manage all different types of our business. I know we've talked a lot about work instructions and data capture, but we also have scheduling apps and communication apps and all kinds of other things that support the business as well, which before we were either doing by word of mouth or some kind of paper trail that eventually gets lost on someone's desk, or they go on vacation, things like that. So yeah, just being super flexible and having learning from all different sides, different regulations. Being so strict on defense has allowed us to dial in some things on the motorsports side, whereas before it was more run and gun and kind of seat of your pants type of decisions. And then it allows us to also be a little bit faster on the defense side, make some of those run and gun choices when we can, but make them smart, right? Because in racing, if you don't make a good, fast decision, then you're not doing well. So, yeah, having both sides of the business has benefited us quite a bit.
We didn't prep for this. I'm going to ask you a question off the cuff.
Yeah, go for it.
What's the most unique or impactful problem you solved using Tulip, or Tulip plus another system?
Well, I think the barcode integration, especially in the composites area, was a big one. But we did also revamp our entire work order process. So our previous work order request system was a SharePoint form that was completely out of date. The person who wrote it and managed it retired, and no one knew how to fix it anymore. There was a bunch of random artifacts in there from somebody needed a checkbox to send it to shipping before it went to quality, and no one knew what the button was for because it had some vague description, but no one could take it off either, so it was confusing, and people would click things and it would reroute. It was crazy. So we developed a work order request system. So now all the work order requests are tracked in Tulip. It sends it to our quality team, which creates the work order in Sage, which is our ERP system. And then all that data gets fed back because we have a connection to our ERP system. So we can tell how many labor hours are worked on those work orders for each task relating to specific parts. And then another thing was the work orders, our engineering team would say, hey, I'm releasing the entire vehicle. So here's 3,000 parts that need to be released. And that would be sent on an Excel form, and our quality team would spend 5 days figuring out how to reroute those into different work orders. But now, because of the simplicity of the app, they can release certain sections of the product, and it makes it much easier to control and view for everyone in the shop. It has reduced some of that "where's my part" a little bit, because at least now the quality team touched it and the water jet touched it, that type of data. We're working on getting that better, but we're close.
I'm sure nobody can. I'm sure that story of a single point of failure, one person leaving and not being able to fix a legacy form or system.
Yeah,
I'm sure that resonates.
That's only
with
our
nobody.
problem.
Yeah. So looking ahead, what's on your digital roadmap, your digital journey? What's next for you and the team?
So we have quite a few things. We have a product called ServiceNow. I'm not sure if any of you use that service, but we're kind of getting away from that. We're going to pull all of our forms and request systems into Tulip. So we have building access requests and those simple kind of, I call them like one-pagers, that we can easily move into Tulip. We're also looking to move our purchase order request system in there. I was talking to our customer service or customer success manager, and I guess he said they have conversations, should you or could you? He said maybe the purchase order request is not a should you, but we can, and I think that makes sense for our business. So we're planning to do that. Can't remember what else we had talked about, but there's tons of apps, and then being here at this event has only made that a longer list. So.
Now I'm curious, what? What's, I don't know, just like what's...
So again, because we are so rapid with our changing, especially on the motorsports side, capturing those changes in the work instructions is a challenge, right? So that the AI video translator is very interesting to us. And then I was just thinking about all the different groups in our company that we track training, and we track, whose birthday is it? Like all these silly things that are tracked in some Excel sheet, and they send them out every month, and it's like everything could just be automated, and we don't need to track all these crazy Excel sheets. So.
Very cool. So with about 5 minutes left, wanted to open it up for questions from the audience. Anything? There's got to be one.
Do you have an IT organization? Because it sounded like you did it all.
We do have an IT group, yes. No, they've been pretty helpful lately, actually. Like I said, we have a pretty small team. Right now it's myself and 2 others that do the development at Tulip. But now, because we're pulling in the purchase order requests and all these forms off ServiceNow, which our IT team did manage, they're actually taking control of those apps and making those happen. So, because most of those deal with connecting to external systems, which my team that's not our strong suit. So we did make the integrations through our IT team for like the work order and those apps, but those are more of like a view only as opposed to like a push-pull system. So the IT group is actually kind of taking over the migration of all the ServiceNow forms and the purchase order app.
Yeah, good question. Anything else? All right, well, I think this is the last session of the day and for Ops Calling. So thanks for joining this discussion and thanks for coming to Ops Calling. Hope this was I enjoyed the conversation.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming. And thank you to you all for joining as well. Thanks a lot.